My name is Emma, and I was 14 when I learned how dangerous it is to trust someone blindly without ever meeting them. It started on Snapchat with a boy who told me he was 16, someone who flirted with me, complimented me, and slowly gained my trust in a way that felt exciting and harmless at the time. We snapped back and forth for weeks, and eventually he asked if he could come over when my parents weren't home. And against my better judgment, I said yes, because I thought I knew who he was. I told him I was home alone that night, never realizing how much control that gave him, or how badly I was misjudging the situation. I expected a teenager to show up, someone awkward and nervous like me. But when my Ring doorbell notification went off and I opened the app, I felt my entire body freeze. Standing outside my house was a grown man, older, heavier, with a face that looked nothing like the one I had been snapping. And I remember just staring at the screen, completely flabbergasted, unable to process what I was seeing. In that moment, everything clicked, and I realized I had been catfished, that the person I thought I knew didn't exist at all. I watched through the camera as he waited outside, glancing around calmly, like he already knew no one else was coming home. Panic took over, and I ran through the house, locking doors, my hands shaking so badly I could barely turn the locks, before hiding inside the bathroom and shutting the door behind me. That's when I realized I didn't have my phone with me, and the fear turned into something suffocating, because I had no way to call for help. Not long after, I heard glass shatter somewhere in the house, a loud, violent crash that made my heart feel like it stopped completely. I dropped to the bathroom floor and covered my mouth as footsteps moved through the house, slow and deliberate, like he wasn't in a rush at all. I listened as he went from room to room, opening doors, searching, and when the footsteps finally stopped outside the bathroom, I knew he had found me. The handle rattled, and I could hear his breathing on the other side of the door, and I knew he understood exactly where I was hiding. The door eventually broke open, and when it did, I saw him standing there while I cried and curled into myself on the floor, completely powerless. I tried to fight him with everything I had, kicking and pushing and screaming, but he was stronger, bigger, and easily overpowered me. The last thing I remember was being knocked out, the world going dark before I could even understand what was happening. When I woke up, I was in my parents' bed, and my whole body felt sore. I woke up with just a big shirt on I never recognized before. It took a few seconds for my brain to catch up, and when it did, the realization hit me so hard, it felt like I couldn't breathe. I immediately called my parents, barely able to get the words out, and then called 911 as my entire body shook uncontrollably. The police arrived and searched the entire house, room by room, but they found no one, no signs of the man, no trace of how he disappeared. The Snapchat account was gone too, completely deleted, like the person I talked to had never existed at all. I knew exactly what that man had done to me, even though there was no evidence left behind and no name to attach to him. What happened that night permanently changed me, and even now, the damage didn't disappear with him, because it's something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. I was still in middle school when my parents left me alone for the weekend, trusting me to hold down our house while they went on vacation, which wasn't some normal house either, but a huge Beverly Hills place with long hallways, too many rooms, and the kind of silence that feels louder the moment you're alone in it. My family had money, a lot of it, and because of where we lived, there was always foot traffic near the house, especially since we were close to the old Menendez brothers' place. So seeing strangers walking past our property had always been normal to me, something I never really questioned. It was Halloween, and before they left, my parents reminded me over and over to hand out candy to the local trick-or-treaters, to keep the lights on, and not to do anything stupid. So I agreed, and spent the entire day on the couch watching movies, getting up every now and then to answer the door and toss candy into kids' bags before going right back to the screen. Everything felt completely normal until that knock came. It wasn't quick or light like the others had been, but loud and heavy. The kind of knock that makes you feel it in your chest before you even process the sound. And when I opened the door, I was immediately met by a man in a clown costume, standing so close he practically filled the doorway. He was enormous, easily 6'5", towering over me, and the second I looked up at him, I felt fear hit me in a way I couldn't explain, like my body knew something my brain didn't want to admit yet. I tried to keep my composure, forcing my voice not to shake as I asked if he wanted some candy, even though every part of me knew he wasn't a kid and didn't belong there. The clown didn't say a word and just smiled, slowly lifting his hand and pinching his fake rubber nose again and again, the squeaking sound cutting through the quiet in a way that made my stomach twist. I didn't wait for anything else to happen and slammed the door shut, locking it immediately as my heart started racing, suddenly feeling stupid for opening it in the first place. I stood there listening for more knocks, but when none came, I slowly calmed myself down and convinced myself it was just a prank, some rich neighborhood Halloween nonsense, and that I was overreacting. I went back to the couch and eventually fell asleep without even realizing it. When I woke up about an hour later, the first thing I noticed was how cold I felt, like the air in the house had completely changed. And as I got up and walked into the kitchen, I saw the window wide open, letting in a cold breeze that made my stomach drop instantly. I immediately thought about the clown from earlier, and as my brain started fully waking up, I became aware that something else was wrong, because my face felt sticky, heavy, like something was dried onto my skin. I rushed to the bathroom and turned on the light, and when I looked in the mirror, my chest tightened as I saw clown face paint smeared all over my face, thick and colorful, like someone had carefully painted me while I was asleep. That's when I completely lost it, my breathing becoming shallow and fast as panic took over, and I locked myself inside the bathroom and called the police, trying to explain what was happening while my hands shook so badly I could barely hold the phone. While I was still on the call, I heard loud knocks on the bathroom door, violent and deliberate, and I screamed for the clown to go away. But the knocking didn't stop. It only grew louder, until suddenly, a knife stabbed straight through the door, splintering the wood inches from where I was standing. I screamed that the cops were coming, even though I didn't want to warn him, because I wanted him caught. But I wasn't about to risk my life just to be brave. The knocking stopped, and I listened in silence as I heard heavy footsteps slowly walk away from the door before a door somewhere else in the house slammed shut. The police arrived shortly after, and only then did I unlock the bathroom door, watching as they searched the entire property and found no one, no clown, no weapon, nothing. After they left, I went upstairs to my room, exhausted and still shaking, just wanting the night to be over. But when I pulled back my blankets and looked at my bed, my stomach dropped all over again as I saw the red rubber nose from the clown costume sitting right there on my sheets, waiting for me. It was a normal weekend in college, the kind where nothing feels dangerous and everything feels routine, which is probably why I didn't see anything coming. My name is Ashley, and this happened during my first year at ASU, back when going out with friends felt automatic and safe just because we were together. My friends and I started the night in my dorm room, getting ready the same way we always did, blasting music, doing our makeup on the floor, and pre-gaming before heading to a fraternity party we had been talking about all week. My dorm room was bigger than most, which made it the default hangout spot. And by the time we finished getting ready and took our last shots, I was already pretty drunk and not thinking clearly anymore. We walked over to the frat house together, laughing and hyping each other up. And once we were inside the party, it didn't take long for us to split off into different groups. That's when I met Trevor. Trevor was exactly what you'd expect from a stereotypical frat guy. Loud, cocky, and clearly full of himself. And he started making small talk with me almost immediately. At first, I entertained it, letting him talk and asking him questions back, partly because I was drunk, and partly because it felt easier than shutting him down right away. For a bit, it seemed like we were hitting it off, laughing over stupid jokes and yelling over the music. But the longer we talked, the more bored and annoyed I felt. Things took a turn when he made a rude comment about one of my friend's weight, saying it casually like it didn't matter at all. I told him to go away and stop talking to me, clearly and without joking, because I was done at that point. Trevor didn't take that well, and instead of backing off, he got angry, yelling at me in front of people and acting like I had embarrassed him. Before I could even process it, he kicked me out of the party, using the fact that it was his frat to throw his weight around while no one stepped in to help. Standing outside alone, drunk and upset, I called an Uber back to my dorm, just wanting the night to be over. When I got back to my building, the hallway felt unusually quiet, and as I reached my door, something immediately felt wrong. My dorm room was unlocked. That alone made my stomach drop, because I never leave my door unlocked, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves. Even in my drunk state, my instincts kicked in, and I paused before going inside, listening carefully. My room looked normal at first, but because it was larger than most dorm rooms, there were a lot of places someone could hide. I started checking everywhere, under my bed, behind furniture, and in corners, my heart racing as each spot came up empty. There was only one place left to check, the closet, and I remember standing there dreading it, trying to convince myself I was just being paranoid. I finally ripped the bandage off and opened the door. Trevor was standing inside my closet, smiling at me in a way that made my skin crawl. I screamed at the top of my lungs, terror taking over before I could think. Trevor ran past me as fast as he could, sprinting out of my dorm room and disappearing down the hallway before anyone could see him. I broke down crying and shaking, barely able to breathe as the reality of what almost happened hit me. I called the dorm manager and the police, and they filed a report. But there were no cameras in the building, and nothing they could really do. Nothing ever came of it. I still think about what would have happened if I hadn't checked my dorm that night.